Welcome to Down to Business with V, a show dedicated to bringing you actionable information to help protect you, your families, your businesses, and the community. I'm your host V, and today we're bringing you Cyber Certified, how certifications can help organizations secure their assets and hire qualified talent. We've called in a former military intelligence officer and a current CEO of a cybersecurity training company to share his insight on the issue. And as always, we'll share what to do if you're a victim of fraud. Stay tuned for that and more. Let's get down to business.
From Atlanta, Georgia, to becoming a United States Marine, to Washington, D.C., and every place in between, everybody calls me V. My goal is to bring you resources, education, and knowledge from sources you can trust, that informs and protects to safeguard our families, our businesses, and the community. Now let's get down to business.
Welcome to Down to Business with V. I'm your host V, and today we're discussing Cyber Certified, how certifications can help organizations secure their assets and hire qualified talent. We have in the studio with us via Zoom, Dennis Kraft, a former military intelligence officer and current CEO of Cybercraft, a cybersecurity training company. A Penn State graduate, Dennis served as a captain in the U.S. Army, serving with the 101st Airborne Division, and was deployed to Afghanistan from 2010 to 2011. Dennis transitioned from military service to a career in cybersecurity, working as a cybersecurity professional for the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Homeland Security, and several private companies. Dennis created training at each of these organizations and won several awards citing outstanding achievement for his training programs. He founded Cybercraft in 2019 with the mission of bridging the cyber skills gap through elite training courses. Here's my interview with Dennis. Dennis, thank you so much for being with us.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me, V.
Dennis, give us and our audience a little bit of background on you, your career in military intelligence as an intelligence officer, what you've done with the federal government, and how you started Cybercraft.
Absolutely. So I served as a captain in the United States Army. I was with the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. And after my time in the military, I transitioned. I found a job market that didn't really have a need for an intelligence analyst. So what I did, I tried to get into cybersecurity, and I did so by pursuing cybersecurity certifications. I got my cybersecurity, my CompTIA Security Plus and my CISSP from ISC Squared, and I was able to get a federal contractor position with the Department of Veterans Affairs. I served as a federal contractor for over a decade with Department of Homeland Security, USCIS, and several private companies, as well as the Department of Veterans Affairs. And in each of those organizations, I ran training programs. I helped my fellow colleagues achieve certifications. A lot of these companies, when working with the federal, on the federal side, these federal contracts required cybersecurity certifications. So you need to have certain cybersecurity certifications to be qualified for the position. So I often helped get my fellow colleagues the certifications they needed to qualify for those. And the companies I worked for, the contracting companies I worked for, really gave me a lot of resources to do that because it gave them a larger pool of employees to pull from to bid on these contracts. It was a natural transition for me in 2019 to found my own company, Cybercraft, to help bridge the cyber skills gap by helping people achieve professional certifications and helping federal contracting companies, commercial clients, get their team certified, get their team trained in the skills they need to excel in the workforce.
Awesome, and thank you so much for your service, Dennis, your military service to our country, and then even to those federal agencies, prior or subsequent to your military career. It's also serving our country. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Absolutely.
Yes. So you kind of touched on a few of the benefits of having these cybersecurity certifications. Talk to our audience about the benefits of those. Sometimes there are different industries and sectors that have these certifications that people feel like they aren't that important. They might be a barrier to entry in some cases. In this case, talk to our audience about how it really does benefit the organization and protects their assets as well.
Great question. Yeah, and it really depends on the certifications that you want to achieve or the organization needs to identify to get their people certified. And if you're a government contracting company, it's a no-brainer. You need the certifications to have your people qualified for certain roles. So that's written into the contract requirement. But a lot of commercial clients may not see the benefit of different certifications. They may want to pursue other non-traditional training means. Okay, I think it's important to pair any sort of training with a certification because it's an added benefit for your employees. Your employees are going to have that career building tool, that certification that they can maintain throughout their career. And what we do at Cybercraft is we use the official course materials, the official materials for ISC squared, CompTIA, or ISACA certification. And we're CompTIA authorized partner, for example, we're ISACA premium accredited training organization. So we use accredited trainers, the official materials in our training approach, and we always try and add a little extra with our courses to not just teach to the certification, but also provide our students with practical skills they can use on the job. We've been successful in training to meet customized needs of our corporate clients. So our corporate clients may say, we have a Windows server environment, for example. We want to have our personnel trained with basic cybersecurity skills, but we want to have them be familiar with tools that are going to be applicable to our environment. So we'll craft customized training, maybe customize something like a CompTIA Security Plus with Windows Server certification or certification training regarding some sort of Windows environment that would help tailor that training for that organization to make it relevant to their needs. And that's our favorite way of doing business. We also like to do customized cyber ranges, run those as team building exercises. Say an organization has a very specific need for their clients, and we've taught everything from industrial security to penetration testing, risk and custom cyber ranges, where we have the team using their standard operating procedures, their techniques, and running through their way of doing things in a live simulated attack scenario, so they can test to see if their processes would hold up to an actual cyber attack.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You've got to tailor the training for the environment. If they're running on a certain system, they need to be able to protect that system. So very good information. So let's talk about the way that certain certifications will help cybersecurity experts stay current on what's happening in the landscape. Is that something that happens, or is it more of a yearly recertification process? How does the current threat play into cybersecurity certifications?
Great question. So most major certifications will update themselves every 2 or 3 years to stay abreast with the latest trends in the cybersecurity field. And they, for example, CompTIA will survey multiple organizations, major cybersecurity threat intelligence firms, banks. For example, the latest version of the Security Plus is just becoming released November 2023. That version of test was influenced by surveys and input from organizations like Wells Fargo, government agencies, threat intelligence firms that provide what subjects should be covered in that type of certification, and then that's given to a review board and incorporated into the test. So the tests do get changed and modified, updated every 2 to 3 years to stay abreast with current trends. I think that's very important. We don't offer any certifications that don't go through that update period. So some certifications even update themselves every year, and students are required to recertify every year. So that is very important, and I think at least the certifications we offer are current with the trends in cybersecurity. I think that's incredibly important. If you're going to get a certification, you should get one from an accredited body like CompTIA, ISACA, ISC squared, or Microsoft, AWS. some organization that goes through that update process, because it is very crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. As you were talking, I was thinking, we think a lot in large-scale organizations when we think of these certifications. For our small business owners who are listening to you and thinking, well, I may want to do federal contracting, or I just want to get people certified, that are currently on my team, or bring people on my team for these certifications. Dennis, talk to them about just the viability of that, what that looks like for a smaller organization versus the larger ones that we generally think of that are ready, have financial resources. What about the small business owner, the mom and pop? What do they do in these scenarios?
Great question. That's where we specialize a lot of times. We're agile enough to not offer an out-of-the-box solution. We'll make it very customized for our clients. We have multiple clients who incorporate us into the onboarding process, and they'll have their recruits go through one of our classes, usually tied with a certification like maybe CompTIA A+ or Security Plus, to get their team certified before they're allowed to touch that company's network. And what that does is it provides some team building. It gives a structured approach for those candidates to work together even before they join the team. It also provides the organization a way to assess the candidate's ability to comply with directions, operate in an organized environment in a classroom setting, for example, and see how well they do. If they're able to pass that certification, then they demonstrate that they have the basic knowledge that would be necessary to protect an environment. And a modest investment in training will lead to a large return on investment in most cases.
Yeah.
So we do, we also have a lot of success stories where we've helped smaller government contracting agencies comply some of their candidates for a specific contract. We had one earlier this year with a company, Great Tier. They needed one of their pen testers to get a CompTIA CAS Plus Certified Advanced Security Practitioner. They needed a Linux environment certification. So we had them trained on Linux Plus, and then they needed a Microsoft Cloud certification. All three of these to qualify for this one contract that they were hoping to win. We were able to get their team members certified in under a month for all three of those certifications, and then they were able to qualify and win that contract. So we do try our best to tailor and to make sure that our clients' needs are met in a very tailored and customized approach.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And just before we go to break, is there a minimum number of employees that would need to be, garnered in order to enter one of your courses, or do they enter into a course with other people from other organizations?
Well, that's great. If an organization wants to do a private class, we just ask that they have 5 people enrolled. The minimum would be 5, but we do offer, for the major certifications, we offer live classes every month at least. We have flexible options. We have evening classes too, to not interfere with billable hours. So they're welcome to enroll 1 or 2 students, whatever they need, into one of those ongoing classes too.
I love that idea about working after hours and not interrupting with the billable hours for certification. So great idea, Dennis. And when we come back, we're going to talk more with the CEO of Cybercraft, Dennis Kraft, about how certifications can help organizations secure their assets. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Down to Business with V. I'm your host, V, and today I have in the studio with me via Zoom Dennis Kraft. He's the CEO of Cybercraft. They offer cybersecurity training and certifications to help organizations stay secure, and that's exactly what we're talking about today. So thank you for being back with us, Dennis.
Thanks, V. It's wonderful to be here.
Absolutely. So, Dennis, I want to continue this conversation about cybersecurity certifications, how it helps organizations stay secure. We're talking a little bit about how the mom and pops of the world, the small businesses, the startups, how they can actually have their employees certified, and then just the true benefits of it. One of the questions that came up was, how does a small organization like a mom and pop, how do they weigh the return on investment How do they decide whether this certification is going to be something that will benefit them or has benefited them if they've already worked with your organization or another to get these certifications for their employees?
Great question. And that can be difficult to calculate, but there's a couple of techniques you can use. I mean, if we want to go with a traditional technique, we can use a quantitative risk analysis. We can take the single loss expectancy for a data breach, for example, for a small mom and pop business. Maybe that would cost $500,000, for example. One security breach that would provide a loss of availability on a system for a week or maybe a couple days. So if we calculate a single loss expectancy at $500,000, and then how long or how many, what's the annual rate of occurrence of that? Is expected to happen once a year? Is expected to happen once every 4 years? Let's say once every 4 years, we would take, 0.25, we'd have a 0.25 annual rate of occurrence. So we take our single loss expectancy times our ARO, and then we'd get our annual loss expectancy, or ALE. Okay, so you would take that amount, okay, which would be $125,000 if we took this just simple example. $125,000 annual loss expectancy from a data breach or a attack. Compare that with the cost of training 1 or 2 employees. Cost of one of our courses, say CompTIA Security Plus, is $2,170. So would the cost be justified if it would at all mitigate that annual loss expectancy? The math would check out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, if you think about it from a quantitative or a qualitative standpoint too, you can gauge employee retention. It's an added security benefit to provide training. And if you provide your employees with something that is going to bolster their resume, make something that they can keep outside of the organization, certification is something that augments the individual. It's a title that they can put on their professional achievement. And it's a little more than just, a 2-day training course on, cybersecurity practices. They can't add that to their LinkedIn profile, for example. They can add a professional certification. So if you're offering this incentive to your employees, you may see your employee retention improve. Now that's a calculation for the HR department, but I do believe there are clear benefits to training your personnel, not only from a knowledge standpoint, but also from an employee investment standpoint. Absolutely.
I definitely agree with that employee investment standpoint. When you invest in your employees, generally those that feel appreciated and valued are going to go, above and beyond, where those that don't might not necessarily. So I think it's a great way to exhibit that. We talked about the skills gap in cybersecurity. There's still a huge demand for trained and certified cybersecurity professionals. Let's talk about, how the gap is being bridged and what Cybercraft, is doing in addition to, what you do every day to bridge that skills gap.
It's a great point, and really the gap is not being bridged, and that's kind of the problem. According to a study done by ISC Squared, one of the major certification bodies, in 2022, the global cybersecurity workforce gap was 3.4 million. That's 3.4 million available jobs in cybersecurity, 410,000 available jobs in the United States alone. So, and that number continues to increase. It was 11% increase from 2021. So the number of jobs that are available continues to increase, and the number of trained and qualified individuals in the field of cybersecurity just can't keep up. So my thought is that professional certifications are a great pathway to get qualified individuals into the field relatively quickly, rather than pursuing a 4-year degree in cybersecurity. I mean, when I was in college, we didn't have no such thing as a cybersecurity degree. So cybersecurity certifications were the way that I got into the field. And I think it's a great way for companies to get qualified individuals, train them fairly quickly, and get them into the workforce. A number of my clients actually work to train people with no experience, get them through basic certifications like CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus, and then get them into a paying position with their company after achieving those skills. or they offer them a position if those candidates are able to achieve those certifications or that basic level of competency with those certifications by the time they're hired. I think that's a great technique, and I think that's going to help to bridge that cyber gap that continues to grow from year to year.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dennis, you mentioned how when you were in college, there was no cybersecurity degree. And the certifications have been the entry point for not only you, but for other cybersecurity professionals. Talk to our audience, for those that might be looking to transition into a career in cybersecurity. What's the one certification or the two certifications that they would need to make that leap, and how they would go about doing that?
Well, I definitely recommend the CompTIA Security Plus certification. It's the world's most popular cybersecurity certification. It can be difficult to jump right into that. Well, if you have no experience, then I would recommend starting with CompTIA A Plus and Network Plus first. And we offer all those certifications. We offer Introduction to Cybersecurity program to help people, career changers, shift into cybersecurity. We've successfully trained hundreds of people with no experience to get into the field and get certified and get paying position. But we also offer career assistance for any of our career changers, resume writing, and we'll distribute their resume to our recruiter network too to try and help them find a role.
Yeah, I love the career assistance. Talk to us a little more about that, like how Cybercraft is actually helping those that are getting the certifications that might not already be placed in a role, what you're doing in that regard.
Absolutely. So for each of our certifications, we provide a skills template so they can place that in their resume. It provides all of the key skills that they've learned within the course. And it's pretty easy because the certifications we train using the official materials. We just take the tools that we've included in those materials and we put them on the resume to help get those resumes passing an applicant tracking system. A lot of organizations will use an automated system, much like to scan the resume for certain keywords. And if those keywords aren't found in the resume, then no actual human actually ever looks at the resume. So it has to pass that applicant tracking system before a hiring manager actually gets to look at the resume. We also have resume writers that we work with to help refer our students to get their resume written if they don't have any experience writing a resume or writing a technical resume, which is much different than a traditional resume, in my opinion. And then we would distribute that resume as all part of the course to our recruiter network. These are recruiters I've personally met that will help entry-level candidates get a position. This is also true for our experienced cybersecurity professionals pursuing maybe an ISACA certification like CISM or CISA to change careers if they need to.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point that you're actually helping those that are looking to transition that might not be placed. I think that's such a great idea because that's a significant investment, and helping people, take that next step is very, very important. So Dennis, you've got this wonderful company. You're doing all these great things, helping secure companies, the federal government, and smaller organizations as well. Tell us about some more of those success stories that you're hearing as a result of those certifications being in place with Manpower.
Absolutely. So we're able to help everybody from the federal government to some of our corporate clients, like SCIC is one of our major clients. We helped their whole their Army. I can't mention the exact department, but they were supporting the U.S. Army with one of their networks, and we would train all of their new hires in CompTIA Security Plus to get them qualified for the role, and then give them the skills they needed to help secure that Army network. And that was a great. It was a success in my mind too, because I got to help my former service branch. And with our hiring practices too, most of the instructors I hire are veterans. We have veterans from the Marines, Air Force, Navy, Army, and Coast Guard working at Cybercraft. So very proud of that achievement as well. And with our individual enrollees, we're able to help hundreds of people each year get into the field of cybersecurity. And I think that's a great accomplishment also. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of my team here at Cybercraft for helping bridge that cyber skills gap, because there's more work to be done and it's ever growing.
Yeah, very good, very good. Not only bridging the gap, but securing America one certification at a time. Dennis Kraft, thank you so much for being with us. CEO of Cybercraft, hats off to you, and Semper Fi to my Marines on your team over there. You have an awesome, awesome rest of your week, and we certainly do thank you and appreciate you for what you're doing every day.
Cool. Thank you so much, V. It was wonderful being on the show. Thanks for having me.
Hoorah. If you or someone you know has been a victim of an investment scam, a data breach, account compromise, deep fakes, or digital impersonation fraud, be sure to contact your local police department or the FBI at ic3.gov. Also, be sure to visit our sponsor, Vigor Group LLC, business consultants for Generation U at vigorgroup.com for cybersecurity awareness training and other resources to protect you, your family, your businesses, and the community. If you'd like to sponsor the show, be a guest on the show, or have show ideas, feel free to contact us at dtbwithv.com. I'd like to thank our crew today, Doug, Suzanne, Stephen, David, Zach, and Jen. We couldn't do the show without you. And I'd like to thank you, our audience, for watching. I'm your host, V. This is Down to Business with V. We'll see you next time.